Howdy students, we're going to do a little bit on slope-intercept form today. It's the most prevalent way for us to graph lines. So let's get started. Most of the time you're going to see your equations with some work to be done before you can graph them, before you can put them in slope-intercept form. So we're going to take 3x plus 2y is equal to 6. We're going to take it, put it in slope-intercept form, and graph it. The first thing we need to remember about slope-intercept form is that we've got y all by itself on one side. Y equals mx plus b. This is our slope-intercept form. We'll call that slope-intercept form. Alright. First couple of things we're going to notice about this equation is the y is all by itself over on one side of the equation. And this is very important because in order for us to get the information from slope-intercept form out of our equation, we need y all by itself. So we're going to take 3x plus 2y equals 6, and we're going to transfer it so that y is all by itself. First thing we need to take care of is this 3x. Be very careful when you move that 3x to the other side. You want to make sure of two things. First thing, you put that x by the equal sign, and that's going to keep it in the same place every time. So when you identify slope, it's in that same place, and you look to the same area of your equation for the same information every time. Second thing, you've got a 6 and you've got a 3x. We need to be very careful not to combine the 6 and the 3x because one has a variable, one does not. This is a constant, this is a variable. Cannot combine those two while you're moving things around. Last thing, got to get rid of this 2, so I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So y is now equal. You're going to divide individually. First this negative 3, so I've got negative 3 over 2. X, and then I've got 6 over 2, which will give me a 3. So now I've got y completely solved for. From here, I just have to identify my two quantities. Negative 3 over 2, this is my m, or my slope value. Positive 3, this is my b, or my y-intercept value. So my negative 3 over 2, when I graph it, all it's going to tell me is down 3 over 2, and I'll write that when I graph it. So this is my little grid here. The first thing I'm going to graph is my y-intercept. Remember that this is a y-intercept. It is a point, 0, 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. This is my first point. And then my slope is negative 3 over 2. This means 3 down, 2 over. Now, if you have a negative sign with your slope, always move it to the top. If you have two negative signs, they're going to cancel out as positive. But if you have one negative sign, always move it to the top. That way it dictates up or down, and you always move to the right on the bottom. You never want that negative sign on the bottom of your fraction for slope. You always want it on the top. So I've got negative 3 over 2, 3 down, 2 over, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Common problem with slope is people will get this y-intercept point and then count from the origin. So like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. But you've got to make sure that whenever you've got your y-intercept, that's the point you start counting from your slope. So here's your y-intercept, count down 3 over 2. Anyway, this is our line right here. Looks pretty fantastic. We're going to do one more. And this time we'll get something a little bit different. So I've got, well actually I have two of them. I've got y plus x equals x plus 3, and I'll have y minus x equals y plus 3. Now these two, a little bit different. You're going to see these on your tests and your quizzes, and it's going to be, I'm going to solve both of these for y. So I want this x out of the way. Get that out of the way. X out of the way, so I'm going to subtract x from both sides, and I get y equals 3 over here. And on this side, I'm going to subtract y, and you'll notice y cancels. So I'm going to finish solving for x by dividing by negative 1, and get x equal to negative 3 and y equal to 3. Now this first, remember these are two separate graphs. This first graph, here's my grid. You'll notice y equals 3. There's no x. You might start getting confused at this point. I can't identify the slope. I can't find the y-intercept, all that kind of stuff. But remember, there's always different ways to write things. There is no x. The number for nothing is 0, so there are no x's. If you rewrite it like this, sometimes it's a little bit easier. If not, just identify the fact that if you have y equal to a number, this is going to be a horizontal line. Another way to do that, you've got no x's, 0 x's. And so my intercept is 3, 0. My slope is 0 over whatever number you want. All right. So 0 up or down, and then 1 over. Anyway, so we've got 3, y equal 1, 2, 3, and the only thing that matters for this equation to be true is that y is equal to 3. So there's a lot of ways to get this second dot. You can either pick another place where y is equal to 3, like x is equal to 2, y is equal to 3. You can get the dot that way. You can just remember that if y equals a number and there's no x, it's a horizontal line. Or you can put a 0 for x and say my slope is 0 up, 1 over, 0 up, 1 over. There's lots of different ways to do this. The best way, probably to just remember the fact that if you got y equals to a number, it's going to be a horizontal line. We look over here at our x, and when we solve for y, they canceled out. It's not time to panic. It's just a time to remember I've got x equal to a number. This is going to be a vertical line. Again, many different ways to solve this one. When I solve this down, without the y, we can't use slope-intercept form because it does require a y to use. So this one, two ways. First, you can either remember that it's a vertical line anytime you have x isolated by itself, or you can say, where's a point where x equals -3? Because that's the only thing that matters for this equation. X has to equal -3. And so I pick one point here at -3, 0, and I'll pick a second point at -3, +4, let's say. So now I've got my line, and I can draw it. So when you get x all by itself, two things you can do. You can either remember when x is all by itself, I'm going to take and draw a vertical line at that number, or you can say I need 2 points where x equals -3, and just pick 2 points anywhere on there. So that's slope-intercept form. Let's do one more real quick. A lot of you, if I get, let's pick y equals 3x plus 2, and we'll graph this real fast. So you've solved your equation down, and you get y equal to 3x plus 2. And you say, this slope is not a fraction. And it's true, it's not. But I can make it one if you use that to count. So 3 over 1 is the same as 3. Any number divided by 1 is going to be the same. So if you like to have that fractional value to count from, and you need that fraction for an over value, just put it over 1. You haven't changed the value. This is still 3, and you can still count. So I've got my intercept at 0, 2. Draw that dot. Count up 3 over 1. Up 3 over 1. Down 3 over 1 for the backside. And you can still get that graph. So if you like the fractional counting with your slope and you have a whole number, you can always put it whole number over 1 and still be able to count. So that's slope-intercept form.